The sacred simplicity of the Sabbath. Holy convocation, no servile work. The end. Apostle Shane Vaughn. Chapter 6. The ancient pattern. Sabbath in the garden before Sinai. Before there was a Sinai, before there was a Moses, before there was a nation called Israel, there was the Sabbath. It did not originate in law, but in love. It was not born from tablets of stone, but from the heart of the Creator himself. The Creator, in his boundless love, rested on the seventh day, establishing a rhythm of creation and repose. This primordial Sabbath, a pattern of rest and renewal, predated any formal commandments. It reflected the inherent harmony of creation. This inherent harmony, a divine blueprint for life, existed before any codified law. It was a sacred pause, woven into the fabric of existence itself. The rhythm was intrinsic to every act of creation. This foundational rest, a gift freely given, foreshadowed the future covenant. It hinted at a relationship built not on obligation, but on the intimate bond between Creator and creation, a promise of respite and restoration yet to come. And on the seventh day Elohim ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work. Genesis 2:2-3. Here in the hush of Eden, the Sabbath was born, not as a command, but as a gift, not imposed, but invited. It was the first thing ever called holy, not the tree, not the river, not the garden, the day. Before sin, before sacrifice, before sacred boundaries, there was rest. This proves an eternal truth. The Sabbath is not Jewish, it is divine. It was not given to a fallen people to keep them in line. It was woven into the very rhythm of creation itself. It is older than Israel, older than Sinai, older than the Torah scroll. It is the ancient pattern, and what Yahweh established in the beginning, he never abandoned. The seventh day is not a temporary command for a temporary people. It is the eternal rhythm of the King's design, a rhythm we are called to return to. In the stillness of that first Sabbath, the world was whole and untouched by the stain of sin. The Creator, in his infinite wisdom, established this day as a sanctuary, a haven of peace and reflection. It was a day set apart, a day that echoed the perfection of Eden. This sacred rhythm, this ancient pattern, was a foretaste of the eternal rest that was to come, a rest that would one day heal the brokenness of the world and restore the harmony between Creator and creation. As the sun set on the sixth day, the first Sabbath began. The gentle breeze carried a whisper of divine presence. The trees, the flowers, and the grass seemed to bow in reverence. All of creation recognized the holiness of this day. It was a day of delight, a day when the Creator and his creation rested in perfect unity. In the heart of the garden, the Sabbath found its true home. This primordial Sabbath was a promise, a covenant in itself. It spoke of a time when the world would be made new, when the strains of labor and the weight of sin would be no more. It was a glimpse into the very heart of Yahweh, a God of love and restoration. And so the ancient pattern was set, a pattern that would endure throughout the ages, calling humanity back to the garden, back to the restful embrace of the Sabbath. In Eden, Adam did not begin his day by working. He began it by resting. His first full day of existence was the Sabbath. His relationship with Yahweh was not rooted in toil, but in trust. His dominion began in dependence. His rulership began in reverence. If the Sabbath was the foundation of Eden, should it not be the foundation of restoration? To return to Sabbath is not to return to the law. It is to return to the garden, to the design, to the delight, to the Edenic communion between Creator and creation. And in these last days, when the world races faster and the soul grows wearier, Yahweh is calling his people back, not just to a day, but to a dimension of divine design, back to the beginning, back to rest, back to the ancient path of the seventh day. This inherent Sabbath rest, pre-existing the fall, points to a deeper restoration than mere legal observance. It's a return to a relationship of trust, not duty. This dimension of divine design transcends a mere 24-hour period. It's a lifestyle reflecting Eden's harmony. It's a life lived in the Creator's presence. This call to return fosters an ongoing communion, a renewed perspective, preparing us for future blessings and a complete restoration of all things. Rest before responsibility. Adam's first full day. It is no coincidence that Adam's first full day on earth was not filled with labor, but with stillness. He was created on the sixth day and immediately ushered into the Sabbath rest of the seventh. Before he named a single creature or tilled a single field, Adam was immersed into Yahweh's rhythm of repose. This was not accidental, it was instructional. Before man could govern creation, he had to first learn to submit to the Creator. Before he could speak with authority, he had to listen in silence. This is the divine blueprint. Rest precedes rulership. Identity comes before activity. In intimacy with Yahweh is the soul from which dominion grows. In the garden there was no temple. There was no priesthood. There was no nation. There was only the presence in the day sanctified for fellowship. Eden's intimacy fostered a unique, direct communion. God's presence filled the void where structures later arose. This unmeditated relationship formed the foundation for future dominion. True authority stemmed from this initial sacred connection. The garden's simplicity, therefore, was not a lack, but a perfect preparation. It foreshadowed the deeper meaning of rest and true rulership. The Sabbath is not merely a break from work. It is the framework by which mankind is invited to understand his proper place, not as master of his time, but as one who lives by divine appointment. The very first lesson Adam learned was this: cease and know that I am Elohim. Psalms 46:10. In this way, the Sabbath is the antidote to the serpent's lie that man can be like God through effort, knowledge, or independence. The Sabbath says, you are not Yahweh, but you are loved by Him. It is not what Adam did that made him holy. It is where Yahweh placed him and when He placed him there. And it is no different for us. Every Sabbath is a return to that first unique moment, a re-entry into covenantal rhythm, where rest is not idleness, but alignment, where obedience is not restriction, but freedom, where the breath of Yahweh meets the dust of man in sacred stillness. Before the fall, Sabbath in a sinless world. The Sabbath is often viewed as a response to sin, a break placed upon fallen man's runaway ambition. But this is not how the Scriptures introduce it. The Sabbath was not born from brokenness. It was revealed in perfection. It was not a correction, it was a completion. In the sinless world of Eden, before guilt ever stained the conscience or sweat ever soaked the brow, Yahweh sanctified a day of rest. He called it holy in a world that did not know unholiness. He set it apart in a world that had not been divided. This tells us something profound. Rest is not a conscience for weakness. It is a reflection of strength. Yahweh's rest pre-fall mirrored His own inherent peace, a perfect harmony before creation's toil. It was a rhythm inherent in perfect being. This primordial Sabbath anticipated humanity's future need for rest, a blueprint for the covenant, not a reaction to its fracture, a divine model, not a remedial measure. This inherent rhythm, a reflection of God's nature, foreshadowed the future redemptive rest offered through Christ, a return to Edenic harmony. The Sabbath was not given to restrain rebellion, but to establish relationship. It was the rhythm of heaven breathed into earth. In Eden there was no temple because time itself was sacred. The seventh day became a sanctuary where no walls were needed, for the entire creation pulsed with the presence of its Maker. Sin did not introduce the Sabbath. Sin interrupted it. and Yahweh's plan for redemption from Sinai to Calvary to the millennial reign. It is a restoration of what was lost in the garden, divine rest with divine presence. The serpent's deceit shattered the sacred rhythm, fracturing the seamless communion. Work became toil, rest a desperate yearning. God's promise of redemption, however, reestablishes that lost harmony. A renewed Sabbath peace is a restoration of Eden's sacred time. This restoration unfolds through covenant and sacrifice, culminating a future perfect Sabbath, a renewed eternal rest. Every Sabbath we are invited to taste Eden, to remember that there was a world without shame, to anticipate the world to come. It is a prophetic preview of paradise regained, a sign that even now, in the midst of chaos, the King still keeps time, and he keeps it holy. This sacred time, the Sabbath, offers a glimpse of Eden's harmony, a respite from the fractured rhythm of toil. It's a poignant reminder of God's original intent. The promise of a future perfect Sabbath fuels hope, a beacon in the darkness, assuring us of ultimate restoration. This hope transcends present suffering. This anticipation of eternal rest underscores the covenant's power, a testament of God's unwavering love and faithfulness, a promise yet to be fully realized. Before there was a fall, there was a fellowship, and the seventh day was its seal. The garden pattern restored, why Sabbath still matters. Some would argue that because the Sabbath was introduced before the fall, it has no place in a fallen world. But they misunderstand its purpose. The Sabbath was not a legal requirement. It was and remains a relational rhythm. And though Eden was lost, the pattern of the seventh day was not. Sin may have changed our access to the tree of life, but it did not erase the command to rest. Yahweh introduced the Sabbath to Israel not as a new concept, but as a recovered memory, a sacred inheritance from Eden. What was established in paradise was reestablished at Sinai. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths, to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh, that sanctify them. Ezekiel 20:12. This sign was not new, it was ancient. The Sabbath was and is a declaration of divine ownership, of covenant identity, and of restored relationship. When Yahshua declared the Sabbath was made for man, Mark 2:27, he spoke not only to first century Israelites, but to all of humanity. The Sabbath was not made for Jews. It was made for man, in Eden, in exile, in expectation of the coming kingdom. The garden pattern remains. It calls out across the ages, through the wilderness and war, through exile and empire. Come back to the rhythm, come back to me. This ancient rhythm, a blueprint of peace, echoes even in the fractured world. It's a promise whispered through history's turmoil. The Sabbath's invitation transcends cultural boundaries, offering respite and renewal to all who seek it. It's a pathway to restored communion. This timeless call for connection beckons humanity towards a future harmonious coexistence and relationship with the Creator. In keeping the Sabbath, we do not just obey. We remember. We do not just rest. We return. Every seventh day is a rehearsal for restoration, a pause that prophesies. Sabbath observance fosters a deeper connection to our history, a lineage of faith and resilience. It's a conscious choice to step outside the relentless cycle. This weekly remembrance strengthens our bonds, both human and divine, anticipating a future where peace prevails. The anticipation itself is transformative. This sacred pause offers a glimpse that promised restoration, a foretaste of the Creator's unwavering love, and a promise of peace. It fuels hope and inspires action. It connects us to our people, the Israelites, who are now resting in the expectancy that their lost and scattered seed will forever keep the Sabbath holy in an unholy world. This weekly observance unites us across generations, a living chain linking past, present, and future. The promise of peace echoes through time. Our ancestors' faith sustains us, a beacon in the darkness, their hope becoming ours. We carry their legacy forward, a testament to enduring spirit. This shared anticipation strengthens resolve, fueling our commitment to keep the Sabbath, a testament against despair. The future remains unwritten. For soon the King shall return, and when he does, Eden will bloom again. And in that kingdom, from one new moon to another, from one Sabbath to another, all flesh shall come to ownership before him. Isaiah 66:23. Let us not wait for that day to join the rhythm. Let us walk in it now. Let us keep the garden pattern until the garden is restored. Reflection questions for Chapter 6. What does the creation account in Genesis 2 reveal about the origin and purpose of the Sabbath? Why is it significant that Adam's first full day of life was a day of rest and not labor? How does the Sabbath change the serpent's original lie in the Garden of Eden? Why does the existence of the Sabbath before the fall matter for understanding its continued importance today? How does the weekly Sabbath help us rehearse and anticipate the restoration of Eden?